You ever have that feeling, where your team is hustling, everyone's putting in the hours, but you're just not moving the needle? It feels like you're running in mud, but you can't see what's slowing you down. Well, today we are going to talk about a way to find that friction and bring some serious order to the chaos. It's called process mapping. I mean, think about it for a second. Those confusing workflows, deadlines that just seem to sneak up on you, making the same silly mistakes over and over again. These aren't just minor annoyances. They're symptoms of hidden roadblocks in your business, and they are absolutely frustrating for your team and, let's be honest, expensive for the bottom line. But what if you could actually see them?
So where does all this mess come from? Well, usually it's from complexity that's just been left to grow wild. When nobody has a single clear picture of how work actually gets from A to B, you're basically flying blind. And that, right there, is the real kicker. When your workflow is just this invisible thing that everybody knows, it's the perfect hiding place for all sorts of problems. It's where bottlenecks get comfortable, delays start to feel normal, mistakes get repeated, and your team gets burnt out because they can only see their tiny piece of the puzzle, not the whole picture.
Okay, so how do we flip the switch? How do we take that invisible, tangled web of a process and make it something we can actually see and manage? Well, the answer is a surprisingly simple but powerful technique called process mapping. At its heart, process mapping is really just about drawing a picture of your work. Seriously, it's a visual blueprint that shows every step, every decision, and every time the baton gets passed from one person to another. The whole point is to create a shared reality, so everyone, from the brand new hire to the CEO, is looking at the exact same playbook. So why bother? Is it worth the effort? Absolutely. Just look at this. By mapping a process, you can finally shine a spotlight on exactly where things are getting jammed up. You instantly clarify who's supposed to do what, ending all the "I thought you were doing that" conversations. It becomes the one source of truth, it helps you standardize how you work, and, oh yeah, it makes training new people so much easier.
Now, here's the thing. Not all maps are created equal. Just like a carpenter wouldn't use a sledgehammer to hang a picture, you have different mapping tools for different jobs. The trick is to pick the right one based on how complex your process is and what you're trying to figure out.
Let's start with two of the heavy hitters you'll see everywhere, the good old-fashioned flowchart and its cousin, the incredibly useful Swimlane diagram. At first glance, they might seem alike, but trust me, they solve totally different kinds of problems. The flowchart is your reliable workhorse. It's all about simplicity. It uses a few standard shapes to show a sequence of steps and decisions. The key here, as you can see, is that it's perfect for those straightforward processes that don't involve a ton of different teams. Like a simple online order. Customer adds to cart, enters shipping, confirms payment, bam, done. A flowchart is perfect for that.
But what happens when that order has to bounce between sales, then customer service, then the warehouse? That's when a simple flowchart gets messy. And that is where the Swimlane diagram becomes your best friend. It breaks the process down into these channels, or lanes, for each person or department. It makes it crystal clear who is responsible for what, completely eliminating confusion on those more complex cross-functional projects. All right, now let's zoom out. For a higher-level look, we've got two more advanced tools, the SIPOC diagram and value stream mapping. Think of one as the satellite view and the other as the deep dive analysis. SIPOC, which stands for suppliers, inputs, process, outputs, and customers, is not about the nitty-gritty steps. This is your 30,000-foot view. You use this at the very beginning of a project when you just need to quickly understand the major moving parts of a process before you dive in any deeper. It's a fantastic starting point. Now, if SIPOC is the overview, value stream mapping, or VSM, is all about getting lean and mean. Its superpower is separating the steps that actually add value for your customer from everything else, all the waste, like waiting time, rework, or unnecessary steps. For instance, a hospital could use a VSM to map a patient's entire visit, to slash wait times and improve their experience. It's an incredibly powerful tool for ruthless optimization. So, what happens when your process is an absolute beast? Super complex, tons of rules, lots of exceptions? For that, you need to bring in the big guns.
Meet BPMN, Business Process Model and Notation. Think of this as the architectural blueprint for your process. It uses a rich, standardized set of symbols that leaves absolutely zero room for misinterpretation. This is what you use for those highly complex workflows, like a mortgage approval process, where every single detail has to be documented perfectly.
Okay, so you've got this awesome toolkit, but a tool is only useful if you know how to use it, right? You can't just start drawing boxes and arrows and hope for the best. There's a proven method that turns this from a drawing exercise into a real engine for improvement.
And here it is, your 6-step blueprint. First, you define the scope. You have to know where the process starts and where it ends. Then, and this is crucial, you gather information from the people who actually do the work every day. Once you have that, you pick your tool and draw the map. But you're not done. Step 5 is huge. Validate it. Show it to the team and ask, is this right? Did we miss anything? And finally, the most important step of all, use the map to implement improvements. A beautiful map that sits in a drawer is completely useless.
All right, enough theory. Let's make this super concrete. We're going to map out a typical customer order fulfillment process, from the moment they click buy to when the package lands on their doorstep. So, we'd start simple with a basic flowchart, just to get the sequence right. First, the customer places the order. Then, we check inventory. We confirm the order, prepare it for shipment, ship it out, and finally, send them the tracking info. Nice, clean, and sequential.
But wait, who does what? Let's add that layer of accountability by turning it into a Swimlane diagram. And just like that, boom, everything clicks into place. You can see the customer's lane, order management's lane, the warehouse, and shipping. There is zero confusion about who owns each step of this journey.
And this, my friends, is where the magic happens. By looking at this visual map, the team immediately saw the problem. That manual inventory check in the warehouse lane, it was a huge bottleneck, delaying everything that came after it. The map didn't just highlight a problem, it pointed straight to a solution. Automate that inventory system. That's the real power of making the invisible visible.
So we've gone from the chaos of not knowing what's wrong to the incredible clarity a simple drawing can provide. Remember, the goal here isn't to become a master artist. It's to create a shared understanding that actually leads to making things better.
So, if you remember anything from this, remember these 4 things. 1. Process mapping shines a light on the problems you couldn't see before. 2. Always pick the right tool for the job. 3. Follow that 6-step blueprint for success. And 4, most importantly, clarity is the first step to genuine improvement.
And now, it really is over to you. Every single business, every team, has processes that could be clearer and more efficient. So the only question left to ask is, what hidden bottleneck are you going to uncover first?